So I think everyone has really heard a lot about how sleep is important, how we really need sleep for good health and wellness. But I don't think the link between thyroid health and sleep has really been spoken about enough. So today I'm going to speak to you about how to improve your thyroid function with sleep and the steps that you need to take and why sleep is so important for thyroid function. I'm naturopathic Dr. Emily Lipinski, and I have Hashimoto's thyroid disease myself. I'm now in remission, so I actually just tested my antibodies last week, and they were less than 20, which is awesome. I think that's probably the lowest they've ever been. Anything over 35 is positive, and when I first found out I had Hashimoto's, I was almost at 500 for my antibodies. So I've used a lot of health and wellness tricks and lifestyle changes and diet and sleep to bring my thyroid back into balance, and that's what I'm aiming to help all of you with and my patients with, is really how to improve thyroid function naturally. So sleep. Sleep is one of the key ways to balance hormones, and some people think of balancing hormones with sleep with just estrogen and progesterone or cortisol, but thyroid hormones are also important in that piece. We need to have sleep to balance thyroid hormones. And the other factor with sleep and thyroid is when you don't have enough sleep, your metabolism slows down. So you're hungrier, you are also colder. And a lot of thyroid patients struggle with appetite control, they struggle with weight management, and they also struggle with cold intolerance. So by improving your sleep, you can also improve those factors aside from improving thyroid function. The other key piece in sleep is when we're looking at thyroid disease, we know that somewhere between 80 to 90% of people in North America living with hypothyroidism actually have the autoimmune form of thyroid disease called Hashimoto's, like I do. And when you're dealing with an autoimmune disease, we need to repair the immune system. We do that in various different ways, with healing the gut, with reducing toxins, with addressing food, and with making sure that we relax and we sleep. So, the optimal amount of sleep, a lot of people have debated this, but the research says again and again, most adults need at least 7 hours. I find for myself and a lot of my patients with thyroid disease, especially when we're in the phase of reducing those antibodies and really healing the thyroid, it's usually about 8 to 9 hours optimally of sleep. And ideally, you're sleeping through the night. Some people need to get up and urinate. Some of us have little kids that we need to get up and tend to overnight. Regardless, total amount of sleep should be at least, I'd say, for most of you, 8 hours, and with as little interruptions as possible before you get into bed at night. So talking about sleep hygiene, how do we nurture that sleep? How do we encourage a deep, restful sleep for optimal repair, for optimal hormone balance? We need to start before we go to bed. We want to turn off all screens, meaning TVs, laptops, phones, ideally an hour before bed. And the reason why is these devices emit a blue light that your eye sees. It goes, your retina, part of the eye, takes this blue light in and tells your brain that it's about noon or 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So when you are looking at your phone in bed, or you're watching TV before bed, and then you shut off your device and you try and go to sleep, your body has a hard time calibrating that it's nighttime. It also reduces your exposure to melatonin, and melatonin is a hormone that helps to repair, nourish the immune system, nourish and help to balance hormones. And when you look at screens too close to your bedtime, you reduce the amount of melatonin your body's exposed to. You can help curb the amount of blue light emitted by screens by using blue light blockers. All phones now should have a blue light blocker option when you go into settings. You can also get apps like Flux or Twilight. A lot of these are free that you can download on your phone or your computer, and it helps to reduce the blue light emitted. It's still not as good as completely shutting off your screens, ideally an hour before bed. But again, if you can only do 45 minutes or half an hour, anything's better than watching TV, computers, phones right up to before you go to sleep. The next piece is that most people, again, this isn't for all, but again, somewhere at least 80 to 90% of us do better when we go to bed by 11 p.m. Some of us even a little bit earlier is 10 p.m. Most people, unless you're just naturally a night owl and you really truly feel better when you go to sleep at 1 or 2 a.m., most of us need that time of around 9, 10, 11 p.m. at night into and up to at least 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning. So you want to start your bedtime routine, again, ideally an hour before you go to sleep. And most people's bedtime routine can be anything relaxing. It can be yoga, deep breathing, a shower, actually exposing yourself to some warm water before bed can also be soothing and help you go to sleep at night. But you don't want to be doing really stimulating activities like exercising right before bedtime. That ramps up the system and can interfere with how our body relaxes and go to sleep. There's a few other things that people find helpful before bed. Magnesium can be as a supplement that's very relaxing to the nervous system. Magnesium comes in different forms: glycinate, oxide, citrate. Every form has been associated with helping to increase the amount of restful sleep. If you haven't taken magnesium before, or you don't know about magnesium, definitely check with your healthcare provider if it's right for you. But I find that magnesium has been very helpful to a lot of people to help encourage sleep. There's a lot of other supplements and herbs in the market to help with sleep. I'm not going to go over all of them. I just touched on magnesium because it is really readily available everywhere. It's cheap, and I've seen the effects be beneficial for a lot of people. Using lavender or another essential oil that's calming and relaxing before bed can also be really helpful. I have been using just some lavender cream. This is by 100% Pure. I don't have any affiliation with them, but I really like their company. They make really good, clean body care products. And this French lavender body cream I use just on my hands and sometimes my arms or legs before bed. I find it really helps my son sleep if I rub some on his feet before he goes to sleep. Then you want to make sure that your room is as dark as possible. We have blackout curtains in our room. I also use a sleeping mask. I use one, I actually have quite a few of these, but they're 100% silk. You can find these, sometimes different spas carry them. I've found there's a few places online, Amazon even carries them. But you want something that's really soft and easy on your face, something that's 100% cotton, ideally organic cotton, or silk around your eyes because it's such a delicate area. I find the silk definitely the most comfortable. If you're in an area where it's high amounts of noise, or you're just really sensitive to different noises, I definitely recommend having an air filter in your room as just a gentle hum, or a white noise machine. We have this white noise machine. We travel with this as well because we never know if we're in a different hotel or a different space, what the noise will be. This is called Electro Fan. We did get this on Amazon. The really nice thing about this is there's no lights on it. So any sort of light in the bedroom, red light, blue light, radio clock light, can interfere with sleep. Again, because your eyes are, even though they're closed, they can internalize that there's light outside. So the last thing you want is to get a sleep machine, a noise white noise machine that's supposed to help with sleep, but it's got all these flashing lights on them, which a lot of them do have. So this electro fan that has no lights, it has white noises and fan sounds. I find this really, really helpful. The other thing some people find really helpful is if they don't like white noise, earplugs can be really great. You can find earplugs at any pharmacy, superstore, like grocery stores have them. Most of them are latex. I'm sensitive to latex like a lot of other people are. So you can get these little silicone type earplugs. I also found these on Amazon. They're probably not as comfortable as the latex, but you adapt to them, you get used to them, and they're really great for those times when you just need something else to help encourage sleep. Caffeine, we have to talk about that. Most people think that if they have a few cups of coffee in the day, it doesn't affect their sleep at night. A large part of the human population is actually a slow metabolizer of caffeine, and that seems to be more prevalent from what I've seen in people that have autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism. That means that if they have a cup of coffee at noon, they're still processing that at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. that night. There's still not high amounts, but there's still considerable amounts of caffeine pulsing through their body that can interfere with sleep. You can know if you're a slow metabolizer or fast metabolizer of caffeine by doing a genetics test, or more simply, you can take out all caffeine out of your diet for 2 weeks, see how you feel, and then have 2 cups of coffee and see what the effect is. If you feel, after taking out coffee for 2 weeks and then having coffee and you feel completely fine, you're probably a fast metabolizer. A normal metabolizer, it's probably not a big deal. But if you take out caffeine, you have the 2 cups of coffee, you feel really jumpy, anxious, you're probably a slow metabolizer. And making sure that you have your coffee early in the morning and then switching over to decaf, having green tea as you get into afternoon. Even I generally cut off caffeine for myself by like 10 or 11 a.m. in the morning because I know I'm a slow metabolizer. So to recap, no screens before, ideally I turn off most of my screens by 9 p.m. at night. Sometimes even earlier. I like to go to bed early, so generally sleeping around 9:45. My screens are off by 9. Using something like Lavender before bed, doing some yoga, stretches, deep breathing, maybe taking a shower before bed to relax your system and tell your body it's time for bedtime. Making sure you sleep in a very dark room. We use blackout curtains and I use a sleep mask. Making sure it's quiet in the room, using white noise machines, air purifiers, or earplugs to help you sleep. Limiting your caffeine intake and making sure you don't have caffeine in the afternoon, especially if you're a slow metabolizer. Thinking about supplements or nutrients that might help you with sleep. Magnesium is one of my go-tos. But there's a lot of other herbs that are amazing, like lemon balm, valerian, catnip, linden flowers. Speak to a healthcare provider about using these, if it's right for you, making sure there's no interactions or side effects, especially if you're already taking sleeping meds, which I'm not going to speak about in length here, but as many of you probably know, sleeping medication can be addictive, and there's new research on long-term side effects of some of these sleeping medications that were thought to be more gentle or with less side effects, like zopiclone, or also known as Imavane. So if you've been on these sleeping meds for a long time, you also might want to talk to your doctor about reducing these or weaning off, or working with a healthcare practitioner that can help you slowly wean off and maybe use something natural in conjunction to help get your dosage down, if that's something that you want, if you're concerned about the side effects, or if the sleeping meds aren't working anymore, because that also happens to a lot of people. I hope you found this helpful. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Love to hear from you.